So, Paul, how impressive was the Warriors' win last night?
This was a great win for the simple fact that Steph didn't play well, and that's why he has Robin on his team. Because when Batman isn't delivering, Robin has his back, and that's what we saw late in the fourth quarter from Jimmy Buckets. And this is why I believe that the Golden State Warriors are a threat. If they don't, and I don't think they have a lot of room for improvement, but if they stay healthy, as constructed, they could cause problems in the Western Conference and possibly even get to the finals, because as I look at the road ahead, there's 3-1. I figure they're going to take out the Houston Rockets. If Minnesota does their job and take out the Lakers, listen, the Golden State Warriors have already won the series versus Minnesota during the regular season, so they show me that they can beat Minnesota if that was to happen. So the path is there for the Warriors. It's a clear path, and I didn't see it when Draymond was at All-Star Weekend talking about we can get to the finals. I was just like, he just, whatever. But then they bring on Jimmy Butler, and I'm like, hold on. This team can get to the finals. I'm looking at no dominant team. I like what OKC is doing. That's the dominant team right now. But the experience that Golden State has shown in big moments is really showing right now.
Yeah, I don't want to go quite that far, but it was certainly impressive that they could win without Steph having a better game. 17 points, had more turnovers than assists. And I was really curious because this has been such a Steph-centric team this year. This isn't the old Warriors. Before Jimmy got there, in games where Steph scored less than 20 points, they were 4-11. Since Jimmy has been there, they're 6-1. That's a reflection of just what an impact he has had. But I just look at the fact that Jimmy Butler wasn't at full strength. Steph's not having a great game. Draymond's in foul trouble. And yet they found a way to win, getting contributions from ancillary pieces. And that, to Paul's point, like I need to see them in the next round before I'm going to start saying that they're title contenders. But when the Warriors have been at their best is when they're getting contributions from all over the place. And it's not like this was a dominating win, and we still have our questions about just how good the Houston Rockets are. But their ability to find a way to get it done, no matter how anybody's playing and who they're up against and who's performing and who's not, that's what's impressive. And that has been that's been the signature of every team that they've had that has been a threat, particularly if you go back to 2022. That was a team we didn't see coming, right? And Jordan Poole gives them something, and Andrew Wiggins steps up and gives them something. Mm-hmm. They're showing the same signs here with a Brandon Pajemski who's never been in the playoffs and looking comfortable, like knocking down threes and smiling, right? Quentin Post trying to dunk on Steven Adams, second-round rookie, right? That's sort of the confidence and the belief that Steph and Steve Kerr and that Warriors culture gives to guys coming into it. And it seems like they're all drinking the Kool-Aid right now. It
was as impressive as their other wins to me, because they're getting the help from all of the guys that Paul and Rick are talking about. When you look at this team, I think a lot of people just look at it as Steph Curry, and not realizing that those other guys outside of Jimmy Butler, when they need to participate and step up, they've been able to do that. That's why the Warriors are in the position that they're in. Steph, look, they had him bottled up at the end of the regular season. He scored those 3 points. But since then, they haven't really bottled him up. Yeah, his shooting three-pointers last night was off. He was 2 of 8, which, was a little puzzling. But when you're running around all over the place and you're trying to get your shot up, it wasn't falling for him. But it was falling for Jimmy Butler. And then when you talk about Draymond Green getting into foul trouble, when he was on the court, they was in a plus 17 with him on the court. That is a plus, even though he was in foul trouble. But when they put him back in late in the game, I'm going to say he came back in with about 5 minutes to go, and he didn't foul out. He played tough defense on Sengun. He missed that shot in the middle of the court right there on the turnaround. And that's when you knew that the Golden State Warriors, like Paul is saying, have an opportunity to really come out of the West. They really do. Because right now, as we look at the Lakers, that's probably not going to happen, right? And I think when you start to talk about them up against a Minnesota team, yeah, you can cancel out Ant-Man offensively with either Jimmy or Steph. Now you start looking at the other pieces around them in terms of Minnesota. Draymond, he's just going to you know, he going to scare Rudy Gobert. He's just going to go boom. And that's going to be over with.
Yeah,
he's going to scare him.
He's not going to scare Julius Randle.
Yeah, he might not scare Julius Randle, but in the end, Julius Randle got to come to play. He got to come to do what he's been doing and show up. But I think when you look at it, though, I got the Warriors, as of right now, coming out of the West.
Wow.
All the way out of the West.
As of right now.
To the finals?
As of right now.
I think it was
Because I think
very,
they can beat OKC. And I think they can beat Minnesota.
I think it was a very impressive win. Houston is still a young, up-and-coming team. But what's interesting about Golden State is something that we talked about yesterday, because we're looking at what's going on with the Lakers, and we're going to talk about this later as well. But, yeah, the Lakers are in a 3-1 hole, and they're in the opposite position of Golden State. And I'm listening to you guys all talking and thinking about, you know, what it actually takes to get to the finals, get to the Western Conference Finals, get to the finals, or win a championship. I think you have to have culture. You have to have coaching. You got to have superstars. You have to have role players. And you got to have a little luck.
Yep.
Golden State has all of that.
Yeah.
Sure does.
Yeah.
And the Lakers don't.
Yeah.
And the Lakers, now this isn't an attack on the Lakers, but we're just, you know, I'm looking at what the Warriors have going on right now. I don't know that we would have said, Paul just said, Draymond said it during All-Star, and we were like, okay, it sounds good that you could make it to the finals. And now all of us are like, maybe they could make it to the finals. Like, certainly they could make it to the Western Conference Finals. We all see a path for that. And, you know, this series isn't over, and I don't want to overreact here, but they certainly are in a better position than the team that I think is the closest to them in the Lakers in their construction. Because you have Luka and LeBron. But the Warriors added Jimmy not so long ago either.
Yeah.
But things have meshed better and more quickly and have produced better results so far in the postseason than it has with the Lakers.
But could that be Paul and Rick, that, like Joy is saying, mesh better because Jimmy Butler doesn't have to have the basketball in his
huge part of it.
hands all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That, and I think that they're getting contributions from their role players, which obviously the Lakers are too afraid to even put their role players on the court, let alone get contributions from them. They're not even playing in order to step up. And they have a first-time head coach. Steve Kerr is a championship-winning head coach with a ton of postseason experience, and they have the culture. So even if Jimmy doesn't have to have the ball in his hands to make an impact, they have the other bit of the formula that is making this all come together to me.
Well, that's why the regular season does matter, and how you handle the regular season does matter in terms of building your team toward being ready for the playoffs. And that's where Steve Kerr has done a great job he did a lot of mixing and matching early on to see what was going to work in terms of lineups and rotations. And then he got to a point and he said, these are my guys and this is how we're going to go forward. But he didn't throw anybody overboard. Like, they've gone out of their way to say, you know what, it's really unfortunate. Kuminga doesn't deserve not to be playing. They've tried to keep him engaged and not make it seem like Kuminga did it to himself, even though he kind of did it to himself. Buddy Hield started out hot and then disappeared. And all they talked about was the joy that Buddy brings to the locker room, and Steph talking about how much he loves playing with Buddy. I mean, when he said it, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, Buddy has disappeared, and you're talking about how much you love playing with him. But then you get, 16 points from Buddy last night. And Steve Kerr, after the game, is congratulating Buddy Hield, almost making a joke about it, but saying, you know, these words have never been said before, but Buddy Hield was our best defender in this game. And there's just a sort of a lightheartedness and a camaraderie about this team that, you know, you go through these struggles, but they seem to be having fun and believing in each other. And I don't know that Paul, like, I feel like you guys in Boston, when you won it, you had that same thing. You had that solidarity and that faith in each other.
Well, that goes along the lines, Rick, when you can easily, talk negative, but that's their culture. You know what I'm saying? Like, when Buddy Hield wasn't playing well, it was like, oh, you know, he's fine. He's fine. You know, it's just you get through the regular season because they understand how long a regular season. They have great leadership on the sideline. You have great leadership on the court. And you got one of the ultimate guys you respect in all of basketball is Steph Curry as the middleman to all of it. He's like the sun. The sunshine for them. You know, you have your pieces all on earth. He makes everything grow. And it's just, this is the main ingredient to life over there. And that's the reason that the Warriors have a shot. And I see the path.
How scary are they in the West?
Man, when you got a player who's an all-time player, Steph Curry on your team playing at this level, and then you add a guy who we call this guy playoff Jimmy. Like, it's a reason you call him playoff Jimmy, because he performs and he shows up in the playoffs. I saw this guy in the Eastern Conference deal with Boston, who everybody had Boston's favorite over them a few years ago and a couple years ago. I was right there, and I remember being on the side. I was in the front row, and I remember talking to Jimmy in the layup line. And after the game, I was just sat there after he just dismantled the Celtics. Just dismantled. Just single-handedly willed his team. I saw a man single-handedly will his team with a bunch of guys who had no business being on the court versus these Celtic players, these all-stars, these 6 men of the year, he literally just mentally and physically drained them. And I said to him after the game, I said, "You a bad boy." You know, and I had to shake his hand to see it up close. And now you got that with Steph. Now you partner that with Steph, and he's calling himself Robin. He was Batman, Superman for Miami. He was Superman. Yeah. And so I see the path. If he continues to play like this, he's picking up Steph when Steph ain't got it that day. And that's what you need. And that's what you need. They continue to do that with that kind of grit. And we seeing Draymond, he's doing all the little stuff. He's getting in his head. He's over here landing on him. He's throwing his body around. He's junking up the game. Yep. And now the player, I'm looking like they can't even focus on the game because they so worried about Draymond grabbing them, throwing them over here. They lost their mind.
So let me ask you this, though, about that real quick, Paul. So he dove for the ball.
Right.
Feet on top of it.
Yep.
Okay. Feet was on top of him. That's where he landed.
Yep.
He didn't move his feet.
Nah.
But I don't remember who it was.
No, listen,
He bent his knees back, though, so Draymond grabbed him by the jersey.
Nah, Draymond was clearly on the BS. 100%.
No, but Paul, he did bend his knee, though, man.
Draymond dove on him, and then rolled
his legs around.
So he
you could have just dove and just stayed right there.
I'm not giving him an excuse. No. I'm just saying, when somebody bending your knee down like that, he bent his knee.
I cannot believe you're defending that.
You don't think he bent his knee?
No, I think Draymond started it.
I get it. No, I get it.
And it ain't an act. It's like,
I get it.
I'm going to be a physical presence out here, and I'm going to make y'all feel this intimidation and these kicks, these elbows, and then
you got a fool.
I'm going to have you out choke. Because, dude, if you notice that player, I forgot the guy's name, he was out his game.
Watch. Is that it? No, that ain't it.
No, that's the other. That's when he chucked Amin Thompson.
But he should be intimidating them like that, though.
It's a part of their DNA.
And nothing wrong with it.
It's like, we don't, like, without Draymond.
There you go.
Look, he pushing his leg, though. Think about that, Paul. He pushing the dude's leg.
Watch this. Look. Let me flip my legs over.
And then you add Jimmy to it. Mm-hmm. So you done went from, let's think about this. If you ain't have Draymond on the Warriors, you'll think of the Warriors as a finesse soft team. They just would look that way.
Yeah,
without Draymond,
Jimmy
just him.
An extra layer.
And then you add an extra layer to that with Jimmy?
Yeah.
Man, the
only one I could think of that would be GP. That's probably the only other one that,
But look at these ingredients they got. They got all-time player. You got one of the greatest defensive players. You got the toughness with Jimmy Butler. It adds layers to everything they got. We got toughness, we got shooting, we got greatness. It's just so many layers you got to go through to beat them. Defense, it's like they're going to be tough out.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough out. I got them coming, like I said, coming out of the West. When you look at just who they are, history-wise, you talk about, because we talk about the regular season, about the greatness of players in the regular season. They got to have, out of all the guys that's playing right now, that's still in the postseason, they got to have, if you're doing like a top 10 in the postseason, they got 3 of the top 10 players in the postseason in terms of understanding what postseason basketball is all about.
100%.
So that's big time. You add Jimmy to the mix. Obviously, Draymond's played in the postseason. He's the 5th active player with the most postseason games. Jimmy's in the top 15, and Steph is in the top 15.
Great point.
So you got those guys right there that know how to play playoff basketball.
Plus Steve Kerr.
That's fair.
And plus Steve Kerr as a player and as a coach.
Big question is going to be, are we seeing the turning of the page? I think we're seeing that with the Lakers, right? And we got Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves coming. We got Oklahoma City with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander coming. It's just a matter of, are the Warriors, are Jimmy and Dre,
Can they hold them off?
and Steph, are they going to hold them off one more time? And that's what I think this Western Conference is going to be about. Yep.
Well, it'll be exciting to watch. Let's stay in the Bay Area and talk about the Niners, who made George Kittle the highest paid tight end in the league, inking the All-Pro to a 4-year, $76 million extension today. San Francisco traded away Deebo Samuel in this offseason in an effort to balance the books, and Brock Purdy still needs a new deal as he enters the last year of his contract. I think this was a pivotal thing of what they needed to do. They let a lot of pieces out the door. Deebo Samuel, obviously outside of being a great player and target for Brock Purdy, brings a bit of an emotional element to the team, a little bit of a grit and attitude. And I think George Kittle is another player for the Niners that does that. So taking care of him, I think, was a smart thing to do as we question how much the Niners still have ahead of them. But was this the right move for the Niners to make Kittle the highest paid tight end, Key?
Absolutely. It's really more about the next couple of years of the finances. You know, the number's a number, whatever it is. You know how I am about that.
Yeah,
so
$19.1 million for average annual value. So he passed Trey McBride, who.
Yeah, so he gonna put.
What's he getting on front?
He gonna put that $40 million in his pocket over the next 2 years. So it's really a 2-year extension at $40 million, right? $20 a year. That's what the Tide
He
ends up
only
making.
cares about the guaranteed money.
Absolutely.
As he should.
What do you care about?
Ever.
The guarantee.
I mean, I care about the guarantee as well, but some people
Exactly.
some people care about the
total.
being the highest paid, the total, what it looks
but
like.
he don't care about that.
That's flossing.
He don't care about that. His agent care about it because he can go and recruit another dude. But I can tell you, Kittle certainly cares about it. And look, as I tell you all the time, you can pay who you want to pay when you want to pay him. Period. Sure. Don't fall for the salary cap bamboozle that they put in front of our face. Oh, we don't have any money. No, you do have money. And you're going to pay the quarterback the same amount of money the money that he deserves. You're going to give him his $50 million that we've been talking about for however many days we've been talking about it. Kittle's going to get his money. And then before they start the season, there's going to be somebody else that we're not even thinking about that they're going to say, we got to re-up this guy and give him some new money. So they did the right thing by taking care of the tight end. The tight end is a very, very important piece to their offense, and this does not jeopardize Brock Purdy getting his $50 million of average value. Okay, Joy.
No, it's the opposite. I mean, I think it's the right move on several fronts. Number one, living in the Bay, I can tell you that George Kittle is one of the most beloved personalities on that team among the fan base. And after you've let all these guys go, you needed to sign somebody back and say that we're committed to spending some money. This isn't like we're just clearing the decks. Two, Kittle came alive when Brock Purdy became the quarterback. He had 20 touchdowns in his first 76 games, or 24 touchdowns in his first 76 games. He had 20 in the next 30 with Purdy. So this is a message to Brock Purdy as well as we're gonna keep your guy here. We're gonna make sure you got your favorite target. And on top of that, we're going to give Brock Purdy a $49 million a year raise.
Yeah.
Like,
And
how do you say no to that?
It comes down to salary cap relief, too, because Kittle's cap number was in the mid-20s. It's down to $10 million now. So that
maneuvering some things around.
$12 million or so cap space goes over here. You know, they're just playing with it's monopoly money, man.
I mean, it really tells me that they feel like their window is still open.
Oh,
which it really is. Because when you make this move, you have to bring back Purdy now. You know what you got in CMC. Ayuk, hopefully he comes back. A lot of people have written off the San Francisco 49ers, but they're gonna be a team to reckon with, and this ensures that for at least the next couple years. So I'm happy with this sign. I mean, he is probably the best tight end in the game, if not one of the top two considered. So I'm okay with that.
Well, speaking of Brock Purdy, when is that deal going to happen, Rick?
Well, now it doesn't really. I don't know that there's a rush. I think it will happen soon. I think it's sitting there waiting to happen, but it just has to happen before you get to the start of the season.
The start of the season or the start of training camp?
I believe they technically have until the start of the season, if I'm not mistaken.
They can do the deal anytime they want to do it.
Yeah.
They don't have to. They could do it in December if they choose to do it.
Right. Choose to do it. But when should they do it?
Well, I would ride this train right now, and I would get it done sooner rather than later. Everybody's feeling good about George Kittle, and I don't know that they're necessarily believe that the window is still open as much as we need to have something that is going to convince our fans to still care about our team. We still need to have that combination because they got a lot of other things that they still need to have to resolve. And I think the NFC, you look across the NFC, Detroit Lions, for one, are not going any place. There's any number of teams that they're going to have to fight through. So, look, Brock Purdy's is in OTAs, right? Mm-hmm. $50 million is a more than fair offer, right? We just signed your guy, George Kittle. Go ahead and get it done. Like, why? I don't know that there's anything else to discuss at this point.
You're probably doing a little incentives here, incentive there, a little small language.
Little language and different things in the contract. But, again, your question was getting it done now. Like, when should they get it done? We could push this thing all the way to the start of the season. Because, as I told you before, and I told you, Paul, and I don't know if you've been here with me, Rick, but I'll tell you this. Brock Purdy is happy.
Sure.
He ain't trying to go nowhere.
No.
You offered him 50. If they'd have told him, all we giving you is 35, Brock Purdy would have said, okay. That's what he'd have said. Because Brock Purdy is happy, and he's going to give them the discount. That's who he is.
Yeah,
so to that end.
But to not create the conversation that drags on and the distraction of if.
But but the difference is he's not ever going to be a distraction. There's certain guys that will be distractions.
No, but the outside is there's going to be noise. As this goes on, it's going to be what's taking so long.
No.
To our point.
It's not, Rick.
What?
It's not.
What do you mean?
It's not going to be noise. The reason is because he's not going to make it a big deal. Other players.
Zach didn't make it a big deal, and it was still noise.
If it was Keyshawn, it'll be a lot going on.
Oh, boom.
No hold out, no OTAs.
And there you go, Paul. Paul's correct. Paul is 100% correct. It would have been no OTAs. It would have been no mini camps. It would have been no training camps. I would have stepped my ass on the field until they did my deal. That's not Brock Purdy.
Understood.
So therefore, that noise is going to stay down.
It might stay down in comparison to you. Okay, but I still think that if they don't have the deal done by training camp,
OTAs, that's voluntary?
We'll still be talking about it.
Voluntary, too? Oh, I'm staying home, Paul. At least you do know me. I'm staying home.
He's going to be singing Sweet Caroline on
Where you at, man? Oh, man, I'm in Maui getting ready to tee off.
Getting some sashimi.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.